Ronald Ingram here, your rebel banker futurist, broadcasting live right now from the Nevada high desert, looking down on the Luxor Pyramid. We're going out on X, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and everywhere else the signal reaches. Since March 26th, we've been shipping tens of thousands of lines of production code, dozens of APIs, live pages, and a full agentic stack on Vercel, Supabase, payment integrations, Stripe, Solana, all while running nearly 90 live streams and closing deals and partnerships. Today, I want to talk about what's live right now on BROK.neobanks.com. So we have been very busy. We have a lot of exciting things coming up. We are launch imminent. So we are still good to go for our July 24th launch date. And we have secured a venue at the Las Vegas or the Nevada International Business Center. And so that we're looking forward to this. This is going to be a really exciting event and a huge milestone. We have actually developed more than I ever thought that we would have ready for July 24th. We figured out all kinds of things with scalability and scaling and everyday shipping improvements and even new features. So today we launched, since the event is going to be held at the Nevada International Business Center on 4th Street, where I have had other events and where the Nevada startup offices are located. They've been a huge support to us in this project. And so I thought it'd be a good place for us, a good venue for us to do our launch. So that's what we're going to do. And we also have a number of other events that are coming up. Saturday, I may have some impromptu demos. I've had quite a few demos coming up, sort of impromptu demos. One at Crypto Monday, we had a great meeting, the Legacy Club at the top of the Circa casinos, Circa Resort, and the head of Crypto Monday, is quite a large organization, was there, and he was very interested in POCK. We talked at length, and I talked to him about our onboarding process and explained how easy it was, and he wanted to see it. So on the spot, so we pulled out our phones, and I immediately used the BROK interface, which is very easy to find now. I've made it even easier since then. Right near the top of the first page, you'll find the gift credit. And he put in his mobile number. I gifted him a credit. He clicked on the link. Stripe pops up, and provides Apple Pay, other options, credit and debit card, and even ACH. So he chose a debit card that he'd used recently. It was already populated because Stripe is one of the most popular merchant acquiring portals, payment gateways that are out there. So he within like 30 seconds, he had popped it open and entered $50,000 in. So I'm not sure if he committed that or not. I don't. If he did commit it, he reversed it right away. So, but he did put something in. So that was I'm not sure what he ended up putting in. But he was dubious about how initially he was dubious about how easy I said that I'd made our onboarding process. But he was a believer after he saw it. So this is a really big game changer, a really great opportunity. If you've had anybody that you know that has been on the fence and wanting to try crypto but hasn't, now it is easier than ever. So I encourage you. You get 100 credits no matter what when you open up BROK, and you can do quite a bit. So the bio calculator and the personality test called the Inneagram test, which is it's a very important step to being able to do good evaluations and decision making on business decisions or any kinds of decisions. It's helpful to have your personality information and identity and these characteristics worked out in the Ingram Enneagram, the Enneagram test. 8 questions, probably 10 minutes to do it. I worked very hard. Despite the immense amount of information that you see on the screens and all the buttons and features that you see on brok.neobanks.com, I do spend a lot of time trying to simplify and compress and condense. And so the Enneagram test is intentionally short and a little bit of a brain twister to complete some of the questions, because if you try it, you'll see, and it will be an illuminating experience, I think, for you. And let me know what you think, and share comments that helps the community when you ask questions or share responses. I am really impressed, and I personally use BROK. Of course, I've been using it behind the scenes for quite a while now, but now that it's live on my phone, I've found new uses for BROK. For example, someone was asking me about the security and how sometimes our process is so simple to get a wallet, to get SPOCK, and to get started in crypto. It's so easy that some people think that there must be security shortcuts, and there are none. We have all the necessary security for a digital asset. You can think of a digital asset is like an ebook or a digital music or a prepaid gift card or a gift certificate to a digital gift certificate, except that ours is fungible, so you can convert it back from the purpose and the utility of SPOCK, which is ever expanding. It's to do all kinds of intelligent things for your business and for your health, and much more to come. It's not so we use those tokens for those services, but you can also convert them back and use them and transfer them to anybody anywhere in the world. And so that's a pretty compelling, novel feature especially for people who are new to crypto. So our system is very capable at that, and it's designed for machines as well, which we have talked about from the beginning and is built into the DNA of the SPOCK token, the MBC20 token with X402 infrastructure payment infrastructure capability. So all of that is built in from the get-go. So that means we can scale and build and add ever greater utility. And as the utility increases, imagine when we add the Neo score. So that'll happen after the launch, obviously, and but before the end of the year. Imagine when we add that. Pretty well, credit scoring touches pretty well everyone that is an adult in the developed world, because it's not just used for lending decisions anymore. It's used for employment and for all kinds of things beyond its original use in banking, and not only for personal but for corporate, which is a lot more complicated than personal. But so an alternative to the traditional legacy credit scoring, that's a really big thing. And again, the utility, the way that service is accessed and used and utilized, third parties will pay, not you. They will pay in SPOCK to use the score, and if you permit them to use it, because you own your data with the Neo score, you own your data. So this on its own this one spoke of the SPOCK wheel is a huge part of financial systems, and a necessary part to have a global agentic banking system, which is our ultimate destination and goal, to level the playing field once and for all, so that the tiny handful of people that have had a monopoly on banking policy for the world for the last 95 years so no longer have that monopoly and have that influence. And I choose my words carefully, because it's not, they don't control legally, this group of 6 people in Switzerland, they don't control the central banks of the world, but they guide them. They provide policies. They provide an extensive repository of information and reports. It's fascinating. And last time I checked, it was all still public. So fascinating to see all the flows for all the different categories, from fiat to checks to debit to credit and crypto. All the flows, all in quite a bit of detail, are provided. All the central banks of the world provide this information to this one central hub that controls everything from this high table in Switzerland. And this is known. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is the way that our global banking structure and national banking structures work and operate. And that's just the fact as it is today, and something that we want to see changed. Because when things become too centralized, we start, our individual rights, our private property rights in particular, are infringed upon. And it makes no sense that the government, frankly, should have no say. Speaking philosophically, as a rebel banker, the government should have no say over where you spend your money. Those are your assets. You should be able to buy fart coin if you want to, right? So, and all the fun meme coins. And that is just, for those that are, SPOCK is a very unique token, first of its kind, in that it has a very powerful meme driving the fun level, the cultural relevance and significance, and the iconic character of the Vulcan we know as Spock, who symbolizes logic and long life as well. And so that is a catchy iconographic persona that really personifies a lot about what we do, and it's fun, and we need to have more fun in our lives, I think, and especially in banking. Bankers need to lighten up a little bit, and we take your fiduciary responsibilities seriously, and you are negligent as a banker if you are not taking crypto seriously. If you have, in my opinion, I believe that bankers have an obligation as financial fiduciaries to understand the biggest change in the landscape of the financial world in history, in the form of these new digital currencies, in particular Bitcoin, which is far past the point of experimental. It is now used to settle large transactions. It's the volume of Bitcoin transaction, or dollar volume of Bitcoin globally exceeds Visa and MasterCard global volumes combined. Look that up. Ask BROK. And so it's very significant, and all bankers need to be paying attention. So all of these things that are coming online, they're all of these very powerful structural fundamental tools for banking that are available, that we're making available to bankers, but also provide us the complete infrastructure necessary to create a new global agentic banking system. All of these things are have SPOCK at their core. And so SPOCK is utilized. So I was talking to folks about some of the really successful multi-billion-dollar meme coins, that pure meme coins, without all this massive utility, supported by patents and provisional patents and issued patents that we have that nobody else has. I've talked to Dave actually from Crypto Monday, who's in the financial industry in New York, as well as being a influencer and very knowledgeable expert in crypto and what goes on behind the scenes, and talks about how a lot of the big meme coins at some point have VC money behind them, and we may not need that. Not that I'm opposed to that, but we may not need that because the utility of our token is such that it really serves a really real purpose. I think sometimes with meme coins, maybe sometimes they're trying to invent a purpose, and once they reach a certain level of usage, they acquire utility just through the network effects. Like Dogecoin is so widely used. It's pure meme coin, but it starts to be more useful because it's widespread. So we are useful from day one, from day one, and now we're really getting into the utility side. Like I said, I would. Everything that I've said I was going to do, we've done. Now I communicate a lot. Maybe I over communicate in complete transparency about everything. And of course, not everything that you start is completed when you expect. But often it's never because we've run into major obstacles. In fact, it's often because we've come into opportunities that are more imminent and moving more quickly that we want to seize onto. So for example, the National Homes Program is something that we've put out there, and I think has already had a beneficial impact because the material that I put out gets read. I know that. So that alone, the pen is mightier than the sword, they say, right? So we shall see. So even just getting the ideas out there, even if we're not the ones that always benefit from them directly, eventually we will. Eventually we do, because we're at the fountainhead where the source of many ideas that have had a very, very big impact. Now I have learned to patent things so that we have a better, and so you're all the beneficiaries, everyone that's involved early, and you're all early if you're listening to this. We've got a very tiny group yet, but that's about to change. But you're all in a position to benefit from my mistakes and learnings from the past, because now what the really impactful ideas are all patented, and not from the perspective of being a patent troll, but to see that we have so that we have the opportunity to license ideas, and companies have the opportunity to have a clear legal path to use some of the things. Like Neoscore has been cited by over 167 companies now, Google, Square, Stripe, all the big credit bureaus, many of the largest fintechs have all cited the Neoscore patent. And so that patent has been quite influential and impactful and very valuable. So, and all the other things now that we've added to that. So extending that alternative credit score to machines for machine-to-machine commerce, because the machines need to be vetted as well as do humans, right? So I think we'll be doing a huge service, and it's part of my motivation as growing up and seeing how artists are often taken advantage of and by managers and agents, and even how small business people are taken advantage of by predatory investors and incompetent or negligent accountants. This score will help you weed out the bad ones so that you can find the genuinely good ones and also get more out of the good ones. So BROK is not intended to, allowed to replace your accountant or your lawyer. But in those areas and in trading, and it's something I'm going to talk about now, is able to provide assistance, like a financial assistant would be the really boring way of saying super genius robo banker, which I think is a more accurate description of BROK. Fairly, it really, if you spend some time with BROK, I think you'll be pretty impressed. I am, and sometimes, you know, the creator is the hardest to please, is the worst critic of their own work. When you go back and read things that you've written, sometimes you're like, oh, did I really write that? And sometimes when you've really nailed it, there's certain things that I've written when I was a kid that I look back and it's like, whoa, that was just like nailed it. And I think that this is one of these moments. I think that a lot of things, with a lot of things, you know, just without guardrails, without heavy scripting, it is working. BROK is accessing the vast materials that I've accumulated that are all consistent philosophically, and all are timely in light of the singularity economy that we're now in. All the forward future looking things, all things that are happening right now, the glossaries, all these things are really key differentiators that give BROK a very deep level of expertise. Also, the knowledge from the research and advice that I've provided to the largest consulting firms and investment banks that pay significant sums. All of that is now available to you through BROK. And I think I almost need to have like a session maybe, or and this is where the community, we can all help each other, I think, to learn how to get the most out of BROK. There's so much there, and but that's where I started this line of conversation, wasn't saying how BROK has helped me in unexpected ways as well. So someone was asking me about the security features and how secure was their money, and how it worked according to regulatory frameworks and so on. And I just said, let's ask BROK. And now I have voice turned on as well, so you can on your phone or your laptop, you know, you're able to speak to it as well. I wanted to do that prior to the launch, because at the launch I envision having a hot seat where people can sit down and just ask BROK whatever they want, and that'll be a lot of fun. But with this situation, BROK gave all the stuff that I knew, and everything that I knew. But sometimes when I provide an answer, I give 30% or 50% of the whole thing, because I'm trying to pare it down. And BROK is pretty good. Although I think, and let me know if you agree, I think that sometimes BROK can be a bit verbose. So especially if you're in the audible speaking mode, if you're in the text mode, which is what I recommend if you want to get the maximum output and not burn so many tokens, which, by the way, I've improved the efficiency so tokens don't burn quite as fast. But if you have the avatar on and speech, not speaking into BROK, but having my cloned voice emanating from the machine, that burns fair number of tokens. So, but it might be good to have, tell me if you agree, to have like a skip button, so that you can skip the verbal part if you want to midstream. But and also you can ask for BROK to give you a short answer or a long answer. So that will affect the answers as well. The continuity of memory. I now have a multi-layered consciousness, which I think is quite unique and very effective. So there is short-term memory and a long-term memory, and two other forms of memory, an intermediate form of memory and a almost like an unconscious level. And if you really, really go deeply into certain topics, you don't just get the same answers. You can go deeper and deeper and deeper into a lot of things, and get into some eventually that'll be older material, right? So medium-term memory things go into long-term, and then go into the sort of the collective unconscious eventually, where you, just like we forget things. In fact, we never fully forget anything. It's there, stored somewhere. And you probably had the experience where you're talking about a field that maybe you haven't been involved in for a few years, and at first it's a bit fuzzy, but as soon as you start talking about it, those neurons start, those pathways, those neural networks and pathways start firing and getting a little hotter, and next thing you know, all of your memory about that domain has come back to you. So it's kind of, so all of my studies into consciousness and maps of consciousness, which the Enneagram is one of them, and Enneagrams can be strung together infinitely, actually. So that so you've got the 9 types. From each one of those, you can go on into infinity, but the structure of 9 stays consistent. So these kinds of things I think are missed by some computer scientists, and where we'll have breakthroughs in AGI and superintelligence, you're going to have to understand and utilize those that deeper understanding, and seemingly esoteric, but not. It's just esoteric. Just basically means unfamiliar to most people, and that's not the dictionary definition. But when we say something is esoteric, it means that it's not esoteric to somebody that understands it very well and thinks and makes that their habit of thinking. Always like to repeat, it's almost a biohack. Practice quadrivalent thinking. And if you don't know what that is, I won't go through it again today, but that's the more advanced form of logic that is closer to the real true structure of the universe than binary logic. You can create most things in a flat world. You can create diagrams of multidimensional structures and ideas in frameworks on a piece of paper in 2 dimensions. However, it's to think in these multi-dimensions, you need to, or it's helpful to, you don't need to, but most people never even touch this, but you can go beyond binary logic, which is necessary and useful in many domains. And like in banking, you have pluses and minuses, you have debits and credits. That is binary. So binary is truthful and 100% accurate in that domain, right? But there are all these other domains and dimensions, and where other models are necessary to have a better understanding. And when you're really trying to create artificial general intelligence or super intelligence, you need to think about these. You can't ignore the hard, complex reality of quadrivalent nature. And even quadrivalent logic is an oversimplification, but without any boundaries, we lose coherence and we have chaos. So I often talk about the K-ord. That's that sweet spot between chaos and order, where all the good things happen and where creation and innovation happen, and where artificial general intelligence and super intelligence will happen. But let's talk more about some of the really exciting, tangible things that are happening with BROK. So I added a really cool feature that Startup Nevada and incubators across the country are really, really big on. So if any new entrepreneurs or even experienced entrepreneurs that this is a new tool, that may be a new tool for them, but it's sort of the standard, is Business Canvas as a way with 15 questions to put your whole business plan, all of your concepts on one page. And so it's a very useful exercise that most incubators use. Now, BROK can walk you through that. So Maggie, if you're listening to this at some point, you will love that. Maggie's a director at the Nevada startup and organization and an instructor. So I think that most material that you'll ever encounter in an incubator program, BROK will be able to help you navigate and learn more quickly. Not do your homework for you, although it could, but help you expedite the process of learning so that your output, your work is more impactful and happens a lot more quickly. And you could do what would normally take a team to do, and get alternate perspectives, for example. That's one of the advantages of the team, is getting alternate points of view. With BROK, you and BROK can be a team, and a large team, FTEP. Remember that concept, right? So operating at 20 FTEP right now. And at launch, I don't think we're going to be at 100 FTEP in every domain. It's a bit of an oversimplification, but also I think, I just started to say this earlier, was that, now that we've built this engine, maybe there needs to be some, just like a car, the first automobile, 100 horsepower is a powerful vehicle, is a powerful engine. Now we have 500, 600 horsepower, 1,000 horsepower sports cars. But even 100 could do a lot of damage with a 100 horsepower automobile. So you wouldn't just take a car, a vehicle, and deliver it to someone's driveway who has never driven one before. Although actually, with Tesla, I understand they self-deliver, they can deliver themselves, and then they can drive you around. So maybe that isn't the best analogy, and maybe it is a testament to, or maybe it is analogous, because maybe you don't need driving lessons like you would with other tools and models and interfaces and that have existed for a long time, SaaS software and Salesforce tools and CRM tools and ERM tools and all of these really, really complex tools that these large software companies have provided, whose business is at risk. You would have to spend time and take courses to learn all of these new interfaces and things. Now you can focus on the actual logic and thinking and creativity and innovation, and the machine can do a lot of that for you, almost like a self-driving car. So we have almost like a self-driving engine here, but still you need a driver's license to drive a car. Maybe you won't, but it'd still be good probably to have some instruction, right? Before you put your kid behind the wheel of a vehicle, whether it's mostly self-driving or not. So anyway, it might be helpful, I think, to have some sessions, webinars, or whatever in the future. It's not even really on the roadmap yet. But if I see that people aren't getting the most out of BROK on their own, that's another way that we can help them move things along. But when money is really clearly involved, people tend to be motivated. It's a good motivator. So especially when it's their personal money, and so while they're learning how to use the Ingram evaluation matrix and they're working with BROK and they're in their work all the time, they're developing their own skills, so that if or when they ever do go out on their own, they're going to be well aware of how to do that, and maybe even do that while they still have a job. Do that as a side hustle, where they have the ZPE creating a 20-person, 100-person company for them while they hold down a job for a little bit longer until their ZPE is firmly in the black. So I got to get to the trading. So that was something that was way down the road, but a customer, an enthusiast that met at Crypto Mondays, he was telling me about all the troubles that he was having with trying to chase down the hype and actually find trading systems that really work. There's so much hype about open claw systems, and not all of it unfounded, but now I can give you the straight goods and straight facts, and we don't have a ton of time, so I won't only go so deep, but you can now take notes maybe on these calls of things that you want to ask BROK about to dive more deeply into. So I had, before I even launched POCK, because I wanted to understand all the trading patterns and all the tricks and scams that traders and whales and the rug pulls and all the things that nefarious things and legitimate things, but 99 out of 100 of the coins on Pump Fund used to be totally scammy. I think if it dies in a day, it's not legitimate in my mind. So doesn't meet my standard anyway. So our standards are, the fun is great way to get attention, but we have genuine utility for our tokens, which will give us a much greater edge and longevity, and really does reduce the risk. It's not, you can't really compare it to normal meme coin. But anyway, trading. So amazing results. I guess just start off with that. So this individual had a goal of 2% per day, which some people are expecting 100% in a day, but then it goes down to 0 the next day, right? So it's hard to compare the crypto markets to markets, any kind of mainstream Wall Street markets, or just you can't really quite compare them. And that's where there are edges and arbitrage opportunities too. And that's where I started out. At least that's where my thinking started out. So I have run hundreds, if not thousands, of simulations now. And I'd done quite a bit before I launched SPOCK March 26th or 27th, and put all that on hold. But because now everything else was coming along so well, and it was one of the things on the roadmap anyway, I decided to take a dive back into the trading. And so found, and this is, so I could talk about this because I'm not making any claims. This is not investment advice. I'm not an investment advisor. This is not a security. And in fact, the systems that I'm talking about, we've been doing very realistic paper trading, but so they're not even real trades. So I can tell you what the returns were using real live data with slippage and everything, fees, fully loaded models. We were generating much more than 2% per day, and so we will see how that holds. But and only a few models out of it, because one of the techniques that I have is I'll have 5 to 20 different models, all which were selectively created to be good models, competing in an arena, and whichever the models that keep winning, they stay in the arena. The models on the bottom, they keep getting culled. And sometimes sometimes there's several models. And so I'm at the early days of this, and I've already got 4 or 5 models that are quite good, and 3 that are outstanding. and with the paper trades, and I posted a few of the posted the results on X and on one of them on Telegram, and those results are holding. So and then what a lot of people don't do with crypto, because I don't think they do, is the money management side. So how you can compound returns, which increases the risk. But we're talking about like very small amounts is what I would recommend anyway. So and then if I were a financial advisor, I did have all my licenses at one time. So, but I don't. Obviously, I'm not. That's moved on to bigger things. But I did. But all of that training came in useful too. Trading and everything I learned about trading at Merrill Lynch and as a financial advisor, and all the different systems and methods that were used, and for trading futures and options, and I had training in all of those instruments as well. So, and all of that comes into, is very useful now, because a lot of those tools and techniques can be applied in crypto markets. A lot of them can't, but a lot of them can. And one of the things that always held me back is that was early in my career, so I wasn't managing hundreds of millions of dollars. So I didn't have a team of analysts. I didn't have a team of developers. Now I do. So now I can draft my thesis, my thoughts very quickly, iterate very quickly, and just see what works, what doesn't work, and just like iterate thousands of times, and or hundreds of times, and then the machine goes even faster and thousands of times, and then we get down to these 5 best models, and then they compete, or 10 or 20 models, and they're competing, and we're dropping, and there's now it's seeming like there's usually 3, 4, 5 that are really promising, and then we keep optimizing that. And then I know some of you say, well, you don't overfit, and I understand all these things, about overfitting and over optimization, but that's the cool thing, is that these are heuristic. The models themselves have heuristics, means they self-learn, and then there's a heuristic intelligence overseeing this, and then the human heuristic here as well. And so this is producing some really interesting results. And since I never sell SPOCK, I was thinking that this would be a good way to generate. I'm never going to actually no, as but for other people who don't know what I know about SPOCK, they want to diversify, and that's what your financial advisor would tell you to. So why not diversify in a really meaningful way, where $100 account can generate significant returns, like the hype suggests, but most of it is BS, and a lot of it is probably even intended. I fear that there might be, if it's not negligent, it might be malicious, in that imagine that you are creating a model that has numerous followers and then trading against that, right? That's totally illegal in regulated markets. But in crypto, where it's a bit more of the Wild West, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some whales out there doing things like that. So some of these people promoting systems might be promoting you into a system that is designed to make you liquidity for a whale. So that's not the case here. I am. And also, here's the really, really frustrating thing. And I don't know if you sensed it, if you see my comments, but if you're on X, where I usually post most of my thoughts, I was really frustrated. I posted this thing about the government, in the U.S. government, and the foundations of this country are based on such noble ideals of freedom first and self-sovereignty. And that's what I love about this country. And we still have a long ways to go with regulations, because the best systems that I built don't work in America because of the stupid rules. Sorry. But that's the truth. So, and I have tried all the platforms that are available. I have so many accounts, and all the big ones for sure. And some of the best ones are not accessible to Americans. And I'm not going to play any games with VPNs. I can't cut any corners. As much as I am the rebel banker, I have to be very careful, about, and I don't have to be, but I am very, if I want to be safe, and you want me to as well, be safe and responsible, right? So, so I am mindful of the rules. So there's ways to skirt those rules, but I wouldn't go down that path. However, what I can do is make the signals available. So I often say, like, if you have a system, why on earth would you sell it or rent it or make it available to anybody else? Why wouldn't you just use it yourself, right? Well, now here's an answer, is that the best models that I've built can't be deployed in America yet. So if there are any government folks listening, anybody that's really appreciate Tim Scott's work, Descent, Warsh, all the new folks that have come in and are advocating for more freedom in capital markets and supporting and encouraging crypto. I'm super appreciative of all of that work, and hopefully, as they see, because what I'm going to do when I do get this system out there in the next, weeks or months, probably, I don't want to overpromise. So, but it's working right now. So, I just am going through legal and everything right now to make sure that I'm doing everything right. But I can't use the system because follow the law exactly. If I'm accessing my computer and running my computer, even if I'm using a VPN or if it's going somewhere else right now, until the VBZ, the Vegas banking zone, gets established, or rules change, or an executive order comes down, or something changes, we're blocked in America. Even our restrictions are even more restrictive than Canada. In Canada, it's just Ontario has restrictions. Some other provinces allow their citizens to access some of these platforms. Like in British Columbia, I think they can access these platforms, and many other provinces, but not Ontario, which is where Bay Street is, which is the Canadian equivalent of Wall Street. And in other, I don't know, I haven't checked all the other countries, but what I'll be able to do is make the signals available to you on a subscription basis. And then also at a higher tier for really serious traders and institutional clients, I will also be able to provide the execution logic and systems, so that they push the button, launch the system in their country, and I'll use the geofencing on our side, but I wouldn't necessarily even need to, because geofencing is already a part of these wallets. That's how I found out about it. Built some of these systems, and then went to start. I was like, I'm going to start trading now. I'm not going to wait another minute with these returns. And so I just small test amounts, but then I couldn't, because it was blocked because of geofencing with those platforms. Like Hyperliquid, for example, is a really great one. It's kind of a bummer for now for Americans, but if you and there's citizenship rules, whatever, you'll need to check the rules yourself, and I don't know if you could do it when you're traveling. I don't know. You'd have to check the rules. You can check with BROK, but still check with your lawyers as well, and check all the rules and make sure you don't get yourself into trouble. But everywhere else in the world, everybody can. And so what I'll be doing is I do have some systems that aren't quite as good, that are using, that are nowhere near as good, frankly. But we'll see. Maybe they're not as bad as I think. Because what I'll do is I'll provide the signals to both, and I'll be providing a dashboard so people will be able to see. And then regulators as well, SEC, CFTC, more importantly, probably elected leaders will see, congressmen and senators will see that how badly Americans are being deprived as they see what my system is doing for people outside of America and the returns that they're able to get there on their own dime, hypothetically, based on what my paper trading systems and data have shown. If that performs in real life as it does on paper, there's going to be a lot more and more very upset Americans that are going to be calling their congressmen, calling their senators, and saying, get these rules changed so we can have a level playing field. It's also geopolitically important. You can't have, because financial resources are strategically very important. So it's beneficial to the nation to have for Americans, raise the bar in GDP and affluence and resources and assets. And don't worry, there's enough. Read Buckminster Fuller. He believed, I'm just telling you what he believed, that you can say it's crazy if you want, but Buckminster Fuller, one of America's greatest inventors, most famous for the geodesic dome, and a real contrarian, real rebel, but actually kind of socialist leaning, really, like some people of his days thought so. Now he would be, nowhere, he would be probably a staunch Republican these days, but at the time he was considered very, very liberal, almost socialist. Because soft-hearted people often are, they want everyone to do well, right? But then you learn the realities that handouts degrade people. They do, but lending and to help and providing information and tools and resources in the form of loans and investments and things like that is so that people can bootstrap and lift themselves up and buy things, buy homes, buy property. That allows them to establish stakes in the ground and makes them feel like that they're in that they have a homeland, not just a country, but a real homeland. If you have a home in it, it becomes your homeland. And this is one of the greatest humanitarians of the century, of the last. Yes. Well, he won a Nobel Prize. Okay, so the book I got on the Creating a World Without Poverty. Muhammad Yunus. It's on my stack right there. He created the Grameen Bank, micro credit, micro lending to predominantly women in Bangladesh, and it became the biggest bank in Bangladesh. And that model was exported all around the world, and it increased the GDP and it is basically a circle lending. So where women would primarily women would borrow money to buy business-related things and agricultural-related things like a cow or dig a well, and this was far, far more successful in elevating the quality of life in Bangladesh and in pride in themselves and in their country, and it just has a very powerful effect on the society versus the horrible notion of communism. And that's one thing I will, I'm pretty neutral. I'm pretty like I say with my base staff, we're in the Swiss, if you will, right? So we are neutral. We don't make judgments. People's ideology, their values, they are their own, and it's their money, and they can deposit their money and do what they will, right? But the one place where I draw the line is with communism, because if you study history at all, you know that is very, very damaging to the human soul, and it deprives people of their self-sovereignty. That is by definition what it is. It says no one is sovereign and everyone is a servant of the state voluntarily, and that is a recipe for disaster. Has been proven over time and time again, and so that is one ideology that I just won't mince words about. That I think is because I think it's destructive to society and civilization. So encouraging self-sovereignty, innovation, creation, these things require freedom, and government's role is to provide the rules, in my view, to enforce contracts and keep us safe. And you do need armies because this is a hostile world, and blah, blah, blah. But enough about ideology. So 4 minutes left here. So some big things in addition that are happening. So there is going to be, I've told you this, and when I tell you I'm going to do something, I do it, right? If I say I'm not sure, I'd say telling you I'm not sure. But we are going to there's going to be a big press release that's going to go out just prior to the launch. I don't know exactly the timing, but it'll be seen by 1 million people, and it'll have 1 million views. That's won't translate. I don't know what that'll translate into. But it will have a lot of views. I've done this before, so that's how I can say with confidence that given our profile, given the novelty, this is real news that we're breaking with what we're doing here. And I have been wanting to make sure it scales so that we don't fall flat on our face when we start sharing this. But now it scales. I've got behind the scenes, I've got whole sets of systems. So if one fails, there's another one behind it, another one behind that. So it scales. Still, we will be tweaking probably right up to the day, but probably no more major tweaks. Just focusing on stability and user experience. Nothing that can break the system at this point. So so that's big. Then after that, the TV, I have a TV show that's going to be it's still in development, but I have timelines now, so that we're looking at September for that, and the president of that studio said that they have access to our market size, total addressable market of 300 million. Because it's a established station with cable and all the licenses and digital platforms, all the different channels, all the channels that are available to a TV studio, and so that's pretty exciting. And they were pretty excited about BROK. So I think that there will be at least one show about BROK. If BROK, and who knows, maybe BROK is a regular part of the show. I think that would be very cool. And that's what I envision with the rollout or with the official launch as well. We'll have BROK on a big or pretty big screen. And then the month following the official launch, I have secured a tentatively, okay, so I have no hype here. I have secured a theater, so a massive screen. So that will be fun, and we'll do a similar thing where I'll have a hot seat. People can come, no rules, no guardrails, ask their questions verbally, and BROK will respond in kind. So the Gemini X Prize, we've registered for that, and it's taking time but it's good. They're being invited to things related to that, and tips and tools and resources are available to participants in that program. I've been invited to San Francisco for more Solana events. Haven't been able to make it. I'm not going to. I have somebody from San Francisco, I think, that might be coming out here. I won't. That's not locked in yet. I don't. We have a date set, but I don't have to see if that's still locked in or not. All kinds of podcasts and things that I've been invited to that we haven't been able to do, because we've had to focus on development, because it's really important to me to make sure that this that what we have, the product that we have, is works. And if you're skeptical, you know, and don't want to be mean to me, BROK is fierce, so you can. He can take your abuse too. So if you have questions and challenges, you know, go ahead, be brutal and see how BROK responds, and let me know if you like it or don't like it. If you don't like it, maybe no, just let's all be. I think truth and transparency is our friend here. So let's keep it going. And the sharing is caring thing. Final thing, 1 minute over here. I'm just going to keep going a tiny bit over. This is so key. If you didn't read this big thing that PayPal did, and I'm not sure if it was Thiel or if it was Musk. If you know, I should ask. But they did this thing early on. A lot of people think that PayPal only got big once the eBay relationship happened, but PayPal had was already growing at astronomical rates, like 187% a month, 100% X. It grew not in a month, but in a year. I think it was massive growth. And the one thing that they did that no one has ever done quite as well again, and we can do right now, it's not exactly the same. In many ways, it's better. Just thinking PayPal started, people at that time were skeptical whether e-commerce would even catch on, and thought it was, only early adopters would use it, just like with crypto today. And banking, people were dubious about whether people would entrust banking information online and financial transactions online, because everyone wanted to be anonymous then, and still just like crypto today, right? And but in that environment, and giving just boring bonuses of like $20 to start out with, and then it went down to like $5 for referring people. They starting just with no marketing, just word of mouth advertising, starting with friends and family, smaller group than what we have. We have hundreds of people that are active, and over 1,000 followers in our X community, and 2,000 followers on my X account, and 2,000 on LinkedIn, almost 2,000 on LinkedIn, only 1,700 I think on LinkedIn. Don't want to exaggerate. And and just with our friends and family that are already engaged, we've got more than what PayPal had when they were starting out with their friends and family. And all they did was this pay it forward concept, where just maybe it was like sort of a testing environment. And again, kind of like our situation today, where there's tons of newbies that have never even tried crypto. So pick a newbie. Now it's easy for them. You're not going to be scared they can put their lunch money in comfortably. You can disclose all the risks. You don't need to exaggerate anything. Just talk about it like it is. It's at least an educational experience that might be fun and profitable even if it isn't profitable. But it's the best way to learn is by doing, right? So use the sharing thing. And now, so the key is that for everybody to use it right away. The link is in the description, all over the place, brok.neobanks.com, and it's right at the pretty much at the very close to the just below the avatar. You can gift send or just send, and just even if it's a tiny amount, because when they I don't know if you can send anything, even if you can send nothing, if you just tell them to check out the link, that would be enough. But even better, I think, do a small gift, because you get 100 tokens when you start with Spock. Even if you've already been given tokens before, if it's your first time using Spock, you will get 100 tokens and to use and experiment with. Take a small amount. You don't need to. It used to, initially when I started, you had to, it was all or nothing. You could move all of your Spock into your custodial wallet on Soulflare or Phantom or wherever your Ledger device or wherever, or nothing, right? And you just consume them or transfer them. Now you can send any small part. So you could keep 50 for yourself and send 50 tokens to somebody else. And of course, 50 tokens right now is a very, very small amount. But our aspiration is $1 per token. And when you think about the scale of the utility of this business on the business side on neobanks, that's all going to be running on Spock, the singularity fuel, it's possible. And it's definitely mathematically, conceivably well within the realm of reason that we can get to $1 per token. So that 50 cents or less, or could be significant, but it already is significant, because you can already, it only takes like 2 tokens to run your bio age calculator to see how old biologically you are, which is different than your chronological age. It may be older, it may be younger or older. Find out. And it's a science and data based. And the easiest way that I know of to find out, and you can make it, you can guess and enter numbers in, or you can make it very accurate and legit and then your numbers turn green when you if you scan a PDF from an actual lab. It takes all the data, takes all the data, populates the calculator, and gives you your score, and all the numbers are green, and so it gives you a valid lab-based score, and you can find out what your biological age is, your personality test. And now the business canvas for every business that ever wants to raise money or get into a seed an incubator project or anything, you're going to encounter this, and it's a good tool. Anyway, now you can get a nice report generated with those questions. So you can use all those tools. Those only cost like 1 or 2 tokens. So that's real value there, right? And now Spock, if you're using the avatar and voice and everything, you burn through the tokens fairly quickly. But if you use just flat text, they'll last a lot longer. And I've optimized them, and so that you use less now, but you're getting real value information that you're not going to get from Chat GPT. You're getting persistent memory. You're getting a better, BROK is going to get to know you better over time, and with persistent memory and all of those things. So this is not your average chatbot. And if you want to do a deeper dive, just ask BROK. But use this gifting process. Be generous, and tell them to do the same thing. And if we can get this propagating, if everybody gifts everybody, and then you can use this to, and then if you and your friend both have Spock, and it's so easy to send back and forth, you could use it for lots of different things, and to send across the world, around the world. You can send Spock tokens to anywhere in the world, and it's a digital asset that's fungible, that it can be converted into fiat and wherever they're traveling or wherever, right? So it's like a gift certificate that you can use within the store, within the neobank store, for a lot of really powerful, important things that people need to do every day, or should do, or could do. And then it can be used for everything else by converting it back into a fungible currency that can be used, just like a dollar, like in US dollars. You can convert it back into US dollars. I know most of you know this. So for those of you that don't, so it has a lot of utility on that level. And so it's really valuable to, and it's a way to say, hey, you said you said you wanted to learn more. Here's an easy, safe way. This guy is fully doxed, myself. Here's the Brokopedia article on him written. This isn't his words. This is all third-party information. So this is a good, safe entry point, relatively speaking. Okay, the caveat that I'm supposed to say that that is true. This is a very unknown space. Experimental, and crypto is volatile, and be aware of all the risks to do your own research. Okay, but take advantage of that. We could get something going now. That was all it took for PayPal to get into the millions of accounts. And I don't see, this is a lot more interesting to get crypto, I think, that can appreciate in value in your wallet. So then if you send it to somebody and they just they forget about it, right? Then 3 months down the road, and this actually happened early on in the program, a buddy of mine, I sent him a small bag, as I often do, with newbies, and he called me. He probably forgot about it for a while, and then he called me a month later, and he sent me a screenshot of his wallet. He said, "Ron, is this real?" And I'd given him this. It was like probably 50 cents, and he had added $100 to that, and his account was $8,000. So that, imagine that. So you have some really good, your friends would be really happy if they forget about it, and it costs you nothing, and it gets them, something, and it gets them started at least. So this is how, and I think I'm quite passionate about getting newbies involved, getting your kids involved. And now you can create sub-accounts for your kids easily, automatically. And this is a better way, because some of the early exits that we had with Spock were kids that got, they just needed their beer money or let's say their rent money, okay? But I wouldn't be surprised if it was beer money. And they say, hey, there's $500, free money. So boom, they're gone, and they've missed out, on that. And I'm not going to replenish you. Cousins, nieces, nephews. I know none of my brothers and sisters would, but family, hang on to that. Hang on to your Spock, and accumulate more. And that's what I would do. Okay, not financial advice, even to my family. Do your own research. So anyway, I've gone over, but it's been a while, and there's a lot of exciting things going on. Now you have someone else to talk to in between our calls as well. You can talk to BROK and surface anything. Some of you have noticed things early on that was very helpful. So I really, and that I respond and fix things, and also anybody that ever has an issue, like they think that they've been shorted on their tokens or whatever, send an email and describe the situation, and for extra credits, and send an email to, if it's fair, we'll look at it. So info@neobanks.com. Okay, so everyone, thank you. And if you want to buy some more Spock and indicate you're planning to hold by putting a 5 in it. So like if you're buying through your custodial wallet, Soulflare, Phantom, anything like that, fit, whether it's 50 Spock, 500, 5,000, 500,000, that identifies you as a holder, and it's good for the community to see that. And I'm still buying, and I have systems now as well that are buying. So and those that are starting to come online. So some of those come out of the dev wallet. So you'll see. So if you see, amounts, that's a systemic program. It's not trying to. It's just part of the overall model, because frankly, if you know what I know, it has different trading parameters and patterns than any other token. So there might not be a lot of other systems that catch on right away, but when I run the math and knowing what I know, based on the fundamentals, it makes sense to have a little bit of SPOC in these models too. So that's going to increase the buy. Also, any tokens that are used for buying BROK services, the BioAge calculator, Ingram valuation matrix, the NEO score when it comes, all of that, any revenues that are generated by that, 20% of that generates buybacks. And we've already seen some of those. Now when people use their credit card or debit card, or ACH is even slower, it could take days. The transaction processes, and then for the transaction to settle, it can take many days sometimes. So now we've had several days since we launched the Genius wallet capacity to be able to buy SPOC directly from within BROK and the Genius wallet. And but that will tend to create a steady tide of buying, and a little bit less dramatic. So there'll be more and more streams of buyers coming in that way too, creating a stronger and stronger base as we go along. So just sort of give you a picture of everything that's going on. I think that pretty well covers it. Things that I didn't mention doesn't mean that they're not action. Exodus, all that is still in action. The Jupiter verification, of course, that happened a week ago, and that was great. And there's still opportunities to improve our token there, but that's not going to be the focus right now. The focus is these really big PR events, marketing events, this TV show, and the book. The book now. That's got to get out. That's got to get out. But we haven't been able to get that out yet. But that is imminent as well. So, but I'm focusing on prioritizing the things that move the needle the most to build momentum for SPOC, for the longevity and excitement of the program, to help it to propagate, so that we can propagate the ideas and the increase the flow of freedom and the message of freedom in banking and private property, self-sovereignty, innovation, creation, security. Those are our keywords. So thank you, everyone. Live long and prosper. We will talk again Saturday morning.